Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever. From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow. Look at this shit. Wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their shit, but the whole beer industry's shit. Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this shit and buying it back so that they can turn it into good shit for women brewers. Literally, good shit. How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad shit into compost. Then we feed compost to worms. Push out beautiful fertilizer.
That good shit helps farmers grow quality hops,
which is then donated to women brewers to make their own really good shit.
But there's definitely more shit out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any shit you got into Miller Lite and they'll turn that into good shit too. Oh. So here's to women, because without us, there would be no beer.
Peace. And what you just saw is one of the woke commercials that's been under fire or been under review these last couple of days that I finally had the chance of viewing myself, starring Alana Glazer, who was one of the main stars from the show Broad City, which took place in New York, more specifically gentrified Brooklyn, where they had two pretty much white women, even though Alana Glazer is Latino. And the whole entire thing about the show is about hipster women living in Brooklyn in their 20s and the escapades that they would involve themselves into. What kind of reminds you of like a new age Sex in the City, you know what I mean? But modern times in New York. But to my point that I want to make today about this whole entire fiasco that's been happening, pretty much has been set in ablaze for the last, I would say, the last couple of months. We're starting to see this shift into this whole entire idea of wokeism. And the whole entire thing of wokeism, I wouldn't necessarily say, and which I was thinking, but I wouldn't say, it's kind of like a mockery towards so-called African Americans, because so-called African Americans were the first to coin the term woke, which gave way into the idea, wake up out of your sleep, stay awake, stay woke, as an idea of saying, analyze the environment that's going on around you. Certain terms of things like government corruption, especially being a so-called black person and a black man, where pretty much the world is against you and you are public enemy number one in the society. Now, the idea of wokeism that I would say is probably pretty much deduced to a horrible, pretty much toxic type of term is due to different factions, I believe. Things like Black Lives Matter, for example, especially when you have hipster type of liberal so-called white people who come involved in these black lesbian organizations where they start to use the term woke as a way of yelling at so-called white people who don't want to put up with the bullshit that these liberal left and, you know, wokeism, you know, these, hyper LGBTQ liberal white people and black people start to involve themselves in as a way to create this fictional world of equality, therefore brought on by different factions, as well as the ever so popular feminism and things like that. That's what feeds the whole entire quote unquote wokeness crap. So we've seen these type of ads and commercials with Miller Lite and, you know, the sales that's been going down in the video that I did recently about Dylan Mulvaney being the face of scrutiny because of the fact of the matter that they wanted this individual to market the beers like Bud Light. You know, a lot of these different things that's going on in society now is definitely a paradigm shift. And today I'm going to be showing you another thing that spread a lot of controversy because of the whole entire thing that's going down with this whole entire wokeness or being politically correct and the hypocrisy that now is being shed through the light because of what people view as acceptable and unacceptable. especially when it comes to individuals who want to market or want to express themselves other than the quote unquote gender, more specifically, that they claim. You understand? So my viewpoint looking at this commercial with Miller Lite tells me a lot of different things. More specifically, when you have a conversation about masculinity, this is not a war for so-called Black men. More specifically, it's about those that's in rulership right now, which is primarily the Eurasians, the so-called white man, and more loosely, the so-called Asian man. But more specifically, the so-called white man, as we can see in this time and age, that his empire is starting to fall. This is what we're starting to analyze. So the thing about it is, when you see a lot of these people attacking masculinity, that's what they're gearing their audience to. Now, the thing about it is, the funny thing about seeing the Miller Lite commercial in which they're trying to put up this whole entire thing, like women need to be heard too. It's so many ways that when it came to marketing, they've always used a woman's sexuality as a way of amping up their sales. Now, a lot of people will attribute this whole entire thing of saying, well, you know, what about the rap music and blah, blah, blah. There was so many different things they've done before that where they honored the woman and put the woman on a pedestal in order for audiences to buy more of their products. I mean, hey, even if you do a study on it, I'm not sure. I probably will do a study on it. But when it comes to advertising, more or less, they want to use a woman before they use a man. Now, of course, when it comes to using a man, they would have something they call a Chad, or use the men out there that are attractively appealing. You understand? But otherwise than that, when it starts to come into the commercial of Miller Lite, I would only assume it's following behind the mother goddess archetype, the women worship, and all these different things that you're starting to see in society spread out amongst the masses, as well as trying to say that they care about the greenhouse emissions and all these different things out there, and women need to be involved in it too, and stuff like that. All of this sells have to do with being politically correct and who's the target of the most consumers, the woman and the LGBTQ community, for lack of a better term. This is one of the different things that I infer. And especially now, because a lot of these corporate companies are gearing themselves to become more or less more politically correct as we go up to June, which is called Pride Month, as we understand. So with that being said, I want to show you something that I had seen that I had no comment really about, but I had found interesting as they decided to put this individual, and this was expressed by this guy named Oily London TV, gave their opinion about this apparent individual who is modeling a pride swimsuit, which is supposed to be geared towards women. But of course, as it says right here in the tagline, it says, the new Adidas women's swimwear range modeled by men. And as you can see in a photo, this is a fluid man with purple braids. And with that being said, I'm just going to be reading to you guys one of the different comments that they've made off of this whole entire thing that we're starting to see more and more now, as there starts to become a debate about what is appropriate when it comes to political conversations and what is okay and what is not okay. Because what you're starting to see now in society is a lot of people being hypocrites by their own message. But let's check this out. It says, in a press release on Monday, Adidas said the line is inspired by a love letter Minnesy wrote to his younger self, which I'm assuming is a person in the photo, serving as a rallying cry for active allyship to empower and champion the LGBTQIA plus community. Internet personality Oily London tweeted the screenshots from Adidas site on Wednesday morning with the caption, the new Adidas women's swimwear range modeled by men. By the afternoon, more than 1.1 million Twitter users saw the tweet, many of which were quick to slam the brand for going woke. Among the replies was one former NCAA swim star and women's rights activist Riley Gaines. Women's swimsuits aren't accessorized with a bulge, she tweeted. She also says in her tweet, I don't understand why companies are voluntarily doing this to themselves. They could have at least said the suit is unisex, but they didn't because it's about erasing women. Ever wonder why we hardly see this go the other way? Women's swimsuits aren't accessorized with a bulge. Now, this is also the last one that they just decided to say on this. I have breast, hips, and no need for an extra pouch of fabric around my labia. I guess that means this bathing suit isn't for me or most women. In which other instance do companies advertise to a demographic of less than 1%? Women make up 50% and we're struggling. Make it make sense. The swimsuit isn't the only clothing item in Adidas' new Pride line labeled under women's, but seemingly modeled by males. Women's dresses, t-shirts, shorts, and soccer jerseys tooting "Love Wins" are also seen online being worn by models who appear to be male. Only the women's plus-size clothing was shown on a model who appeared female. Maybe Adidas does not appreciate large trans models or skinny female models. One user pointed out on Twitter. Others cited the catchphrase, "Go woke, go broke," which has gained traction since brands like Bud Light and Nike tapped trans social media star Dylan Mulvaney for partnerships, which ultimately led to boycotts and profit losses. Last month, Adidas rival Nike tapped Mulvaney for a brand deal to promote the company's apparel. Mulvaney revealed the partnership in a series of Instagram story posts wearing Nike's activewear, including pants and a sports bra. Alert the media, I'm entering my workout era. Mulvaney, a transgender woman, wrote in a caption for her 2 million followers to see. Nike faced outrage over its decision to have Mulvaney promote women's apparel in a burn bra challenge ensued on TikTok, which will remind you, probably, I forgot which era of the feminist movement where they decided to do what? Burn bras at the stake. It's really funny how history has a strange way of repeating itself. I'm running out of brands to wear, another tweeted, while yet another said they wouldn't be buying from Adidas again. On to another brand that respects women, the user wrote. And with this being said, a lot of what you're seeing in society, a lot of people are talking about the erasure of women. More so what I start to see is a lot of these sides of society failing. And as we are in the last days, they are looking to make the man more fluid. And obviously, with this being said, it's about intertwining both genders into creating a grayscale area for everyone in society. That's why you start to see a lot of these different programs that they're putting on children, such as the Drag Queen Story Hour and all these different things. And when it comes to the spiritual aspects about the whole entire divine femininity and masculinity grouping into one, especially if you start to look at the archetype of something as essential as the Baphomet. Just here to give you the news and the perspectives that I see. But obviously, as we see this go on, it's going to be pretty much regular for a lot of these ads to come out in the future where they start to have these clothes be worn by seemingly or appearing males. But if you ask that individual themselves, especially the man that was wearing this quote unquote swimsuit, they're going to tell you that they don't identify themselves as male. They're going to tell you this whole entire thing like they could be non-binary, they could be this, they could be that. Why is that? Because the fact of the matter is, it's about blurring the lines on the spectrum of quote unquote gender or sex, which is always a talking point. I've been hearing these debates for a while, but this is what I just see fit, especially when you've seen a lot of olden society is noted. A lot of people talk about the Greek culture, the Egyptian culture, and all these different things where men would castrate themselves and they would refer to themselves as goddesses after the castration. But obviously, we have an understanding spiritually. A lot of men today are being spiritually castrated and being put upon themselves as not directly men, but as fluid individuals. Otherwise than that, that's just my perspectives. Give me your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Peace.